Okay, so we're going to build a picnic table in Fusion 360. Let's get going. Okay, the first thing I would do here is set up the bottom portion of where the ground is going to be. I would use a construction line for this, and this basically will give me a point of reference for the actual ground of where the picnic table would sit, and I can also use both the vertical and horizontal for mirroring purposes, which always comes in handy. Now, I did set some perimeters on this particular build, but I don't remember if they came into play on this one, and this was done before the recording of the voice recording. I did not do it as I went along, so just keep that in mind. I apologize if I rattle on or try and remember what I did at a certain point. But anyway, I'm essentially designing the bottom portion of the picnic table here, and you'll see more as I go along as to what I'm doing. A cool thing, what I just did there, I want to talk about is you can set the degrees and they lock in place, as you can see. I'm trying to cut a little miter here on the tips of this wood, and it's letting me do the length while not adjusting the radius, because I set that first. So the key is to set the radius first, and then you can adjust the length that you need, and it'll maintain that locked in constraint of the radius. Very nice feature in Fusion 360. And I just mirrored it as you saw there, which I do all the time. It's a great time-saving tool to be able to mirror everything along. Now, on this one, and a lot of the ones that I do in Fusion 360 for woodworking, more so than leather, is I tend to do an entire sketch first and then start extruding. And there's the actual perimeters that I set. But I like to extrude at the very end. I don't know, it's a preference. Some people extrude stuff as they go along. You can do it either way. But I typically do the entire sketch first, as you will see here. And the perimeters I have in place in case someone wants a picnic table on order and they want one for a family of 6 or 10 or 15 instead of just a standard picnic table. So you'll see what I mean. The standard width is 60, as you can see at the bottom, from seat to seat, and you'll start seeing now the seats form, as a matter of fact. And I'm just copy pasting and dragging it over. It's just that simple to drag over the 2x6s, which are what these are going to be eventually, as far as for copying. And you can do rectangle on path, you can copy paste. There's different ways in Fusion 360 to get you from A to B. In this case, I'm just using, again, rectangle on path, which I've used in the past, which is amazing, as you can see right there. Just a great feature to have, to be honest. So as you can see, just using more of the mirroring feature in Fusion 360 to help speed this along. Can't say enough good things about Fusion 360. Something I'm noticing here also is that line I set for a construction line at the very beginning was actually for underneath the base support for the seats, not the actual ground level, just for clarifications, which common sense you'll see that in just a minute, if you can't already tell what this part of the table is. What I'm doing here is, this is to set the top of seat to top of the table. And I'm using, again, a construction line just so that it's not a permanent line there, that I don't get mixed up with anything else during the extrusion phase. Now, I'd mentioned that the construction line is at 12 inches from the seat to the top of the table, but as you can see, it's not there, but it will eventually be lowered down to the proper height. It's just that this is used as a reference to let me know where I need to get it to eventually. Many ways of doing it, again, but this is just how I choose to do it most of the time. So again, you just, for adding the 2x6s to the top, you just do copy paste, or you can do, like I just did there, pattern on rectangle, and just put as many as you think you're going to need. In this case, I know how many I need. I've done this before. And you can drag them over, or you can just set exactly the spacing you want. I didn't even, as you can see, it's still an extent. I didn't even feel the need to use the spacing feature. But anyway, looks pretty good. Right on, can't beat that. And again, you'll see here I tabbed over to the radius to set that first. And once you set that, you can drag to the length that you need for your eventual miters, which you'll see me cut out with the little scissors up there once I get to that part. Okay, the fun part now is going around and cutting everything out. As you can see, you just grab the scissors and start cutting all of these lines that you don't need, which will help you achieve the miter, as you see there. And I do it for the top as well. And if you didn't see it earlier, I do have my 12 inches now from top of seat to top of tabletop, which is what you want. Okay, so now we're going to get into the legs. I know the radius that I want. As you can see, I set that first, which is awesome. And I know my length is approximately 36 inches on this board. I'm just kind of checking here the miters that I want to do to get this flat and setting those now. I'm also seeing that I used construction lines. Yeah, I caught myself. That wasn't right. So I do that a lot. Fusion 360 picks up where you left off. So if you're in construction lines, you're going to be in construction lines until you click that off. So you got to remember to go back and do that, which is obviously easy to catch because you'll see right away that you're still drawing construction lines. Okay, so got the first leg done there on the right, and what do you know? We're going to mirror this again, which is the fastest way to do it. So looks like I'm going through here and clicking on the individual lines that I want to mirror, and then I'll click that center line, construction line there, right there as the mirror, and there you have it. Just that easy. Really starting to look like a picnic table. So like I said before, I like to use this as a sketch first before I extrude. So now you're seeing that I'm going a step further and putting the seat supports in underneath where they're going to go as well. So again, you can do this later, but I just do it up front a lot of times as far as on the sketch, and then extrude everything at once. Okay, another reason I wait to do the extrusion is because it's another one of the fun parts, like using the scissors. So now we are just about to do that now. We're going to start the extrusion process. And all you do is hit E for extrusion on a Windows PC. And in this case, let me see if yeah, the origin. So I am on the side of the plane where I need to go negative to have a physical object. If I were to leave it where it is now and do a positive number, it's going to go the wrong way of the table that I want it to go anyway. So in that case, you do a negative number to the length you want, and there you have it. It just shoots it out the opposite way of the plane, which you see there on the Z-axis. And again, Fusion 360 takes off when you extrude. It removes the sketch from view, which is just, I still to this day don't know why it does that. I don't know what you achieve from that, but that's how it is. Okay, and I apologize if you hear any noises in the background. That's my German Shepherd, but hopefully you don't hear that if anyone's listening to this video. So we're going to continue on here and do the other two seats and the support. We'll do the legs and everything else. And you're about to see a mistake that I made up here in a minute, which I left in for educational purposes. so now that we've done the supports, the top of the table and the seats, we have to do the supports and the legs. Now you're going to see the mistake I made that I mentioned a minute ago. It's quite apparent once I extrude right here. Again, still extruding negative, 1.5 inches for the thickness of the wood. Don't feel like it's a big deal, doesn't look like it's a big deal, unless you've already seen what I've done here. What I've done is I didn't allow for how much I need to be off of that plane. So, because keep in mind, the plane that I'm on, that I'm extruding away from in the negative, is the starting point of the table. So in this case, I need to do some math to get the proper distance away from the edge. Otherwise, you're going to have the most ridiculous looking picnic table ever, because the supports and the legs at that will be on the outside of the table, which is not what you want and quite ridiculous. So I made a mistake here, caught it, left it in, and then I'll get to the next part where I fix it and you can see how I did it. Okay, so looks like I went and got some more coffee and decided to redo this the right way. And as you can tell, I need to do an offset. You'll see here it's going to be an offset. Yeah, so all you do is you drop down and it gives you another item to put in for offset. So now I know I want the face of this to be 8 inches away from the plane, or the edge in this case, and then I can do the math. So I did 8 inches on an offset, and then I did the 1.5 inches thickness of the board, and look what it did. It moved it perfectly into where I need. So you're going to have to do math here, because some of these, like the legs, need to be on one side of the support, vice versa. So you get into a little bit of math here, and maybe even some deleting and revising to get it where you want. And it looks like I may have actually wanted to do it again here as well to bring it in even further. So again, here on the legs, you're going to have to do a little bit extra math as an example, because you're going to want to not only bring this in 8 inches, you're going to want to be on the other side of the base. So you're going to have, and then you're going to have to extend the thickness of the actual 2x6 for the leg, which is 1.5 inches. So the offset here, I don't think I'm doing that right, it looks like, but yeah, so I didn't do that right, you can see. And again, I recorded the Fusion 360 before the voiceover. Gotta remember how I did it. There we go. So that looks a lot better. It's on the other side of the base support, which is going to have to take into consideration the 8 and the 1.5 inch thickness of the support. So you have the 9.5 inches to the face of that leg and where it needs to start before you can extrude the 1.5 inch thickness of the leg. and you would do that on both sides, which is you can mirror that, or you can simply just go through and do each one individually. Okay, it really looks like a picnic table now, but it would fall over if I left it like this. So you can see that I added the construction planes, which are great. One offset and a midplane will allow me to mirror all of these objects at one time with one click, and there you have it, just like magic. And again, these are all separate components on the left, as you can see, that I can print out on a later date for a PDF printout, for blueprints, for material list for someone. It'll literally spit out exactly what you need to build this table. You could go a step further too. You could add in the bolts, which I've done for customers before, or whatever, however far you want to go. And on this particular build, I don't think I actually, or the Fusion 360 build, I don't even think I went all the way with all the supports. I know I'm do the ones under the seats, but I don't think that I do the braces underneath from base to base, which you're going to need on a picnic table. But even this was a little tricky too. You've really got to do the math, because you got to think you're on the surface of the base 8 inches away, and you need to go the span to the next one. So you really have to be on top of your game, or do a lot of back and forth on this. But once you get one, you can easily copy them over and mirror, which is great. And if I'm not mistaken, this was probably the second or third time I did that particular brace, because it was getting a little tricky. And you want to do new component, not cut, as you saw. But there you have it. It looks pretty nice. I mean, that would be a decent size picnic table. And you can go a step further, which I think I did, and add some color. In this case, pine. You can drag and drop it to the entire project. like I did there, which is great too. That way you can just do it all at once if it's something that's going to be all the same material. And not only does that give you the color, it gives you all of the material characteristics on the back end too, for the volume and everything, so it's great to do that. But there you have it, picnic table Fusion 360. Let me know. Leave a like down below if you like these. I seem to be seeing a lot of action or views, if you will, on the Fusion 360 more than the actual builds. So it looks like a lot of people are curious how anyone can do the blueprints through Fusion 360, which is what I don't mind showing. It's fun because I need to build these anyway, so why not film these while I am doing them for myself or customers. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to get as many videos out as I can. I'm going to continually do this. Thank you so much.